I think one of you can summarize the takeaways or the action plan, points, if any. And request everybody to be on mute when somebody is speaking. That will help in the clarity.
Okay.
Okay. All clear?
Hi.
All right. Daisel, you may start.
Yeah. Am I visible and audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
I'll go off mute and switch off my camera.
Great. I'll keep my introduction very short. My name is Daisel. I'm a learning consultant, and most of you know me. So in the interest of time, I will get going with what the essence of this discussion is. I'm going to share my screen in a moment. Just drop a message if you're able to see my screen.
Not as of now.
Is anybody able to see my screen?
No, Dazzle. Did you click on more actions?
No, Dazzle.
Okay, let me try.
Share.
I can see your screen, Vishia.
Okay. So that means the screen is visible. It's taking time for people to see that. Anybody else who can see my Urvashi, you can see my screen still?
Yeah.
Okay. What can you see on the first slide?
Okay, now it just went away.
Okay, Sabina, very quickly, how much of time do we have for each speaker so that I stick to that?
So we've kept about an hour for all the discussions and 15 minutes maybe towards the end for question answers. We have time till about 6 o'clock, and we'll be keeping a note of the time here. So
okay.
You can take about 5-10 minutes for each person.
Okay, great. So
we can go with the first bit is the questions that we,
Yes. So I have answered all the questions in the form of this particular presentation that I put together. What I've attempted is to, to begin with, show what is how HR is transforming very briefly, because that has a bearing on L&D. We can't just independently discuss learning because learning, is impacted by when HR transforms overall. So I'm just going to very briefly touch on the biggest changes that are happening as far as HR is concerned, and then move more into the learning part of it, and then I'll. You can share your observations as well. Can the others also see my screen?
No, I can't.
Okay.
Not yet.
No.
Okay, only one person was able to see this. Okay.
That's okay, Daisel. You can keep trying. In the meanwhile, you can just walk us through it.
Sure. So very quickly, changes in HR will impact learning and development. So what is, with the COVID pandemic episode has only, increased the pace at which HR was changing. In fact, there was a lot of changes happening in L&D and HR already, and this episode or this incident that we are all facing now has actually pushed it a little faster. The biggest transformation that we are going to, that the industry is seeing as far as HR is concerned, is there's going to be a very strong emphasis on agile as an approach in HR. The agile methodology, which is used in technology and the IT, is now becoming the focus in HR. So what does that mean? In a sense, companies companies' core business and functions will largely replace long-range planning models with more nimbler methods to allow them to adapt and innovate more quickly. So there won't be long plans, there won't be detailed plans, there'll be more nimbler plans that we made. So what is the impact on HR? HR must start using agile talent practices to reflect and support what the rest of the organization is doing. So here it is, the biggest change that has already hit and is going to make transform very faster is the transformation of HR from a traditional HR into an agile HR structure, for which organizations are changing into an agile mode, and hence HR must also have an agile talent practice model in place. Now, what are the biggest changes that are going to happen because of that approach? The first one is performance appraisals are going to see a change. Now, I'm sharing what are the changes that are going to happen, and parallelly, I want all of you all to see where we as learning consultants, learning and development managers can impact. We don't impact individually or independently as L&D, but we have a role to play in all facets of HR some way or the other. So changes that are happening, performance appraisals. Number one, there'll be focus on delivering more immediate feedback rather than year-end or quarterly or half-yearly feedback. Coaching is going to see a big change. Coaching is going to get tremendous importance. In-house independent coaches are going to have a lot of say in the coming system and the coming age. The concept of teams are going to change from hierarchical teams. It's going to be teams based on projects. So which means that Dazel will not be hired into an organization to do a particular role, one particular role. He will be hired into an organization keeping in mind a set of competencies that he might have, and he might be deployed in more than one project wherein his competencies can be replicated so that he is utilized effectively. So teams are formed based on projects, and teams are not formed based on goals only. The biggest change that is going to happen is in terms of the way culture is going to be looked at. When people are hired, it's going to be fit versus diversity. A lot of emphasis is going to be given for cognitive diversity. Cognitive diversity is diversity in the way people think, the way people ideate, the way people come out with solutions. And then, computational linguistics. This is going to take a very big platform coming ahead with, cost cutting happening. They want to understand culture more effectively and understand how managers behave using computational linguistics. So these are some changes that are happening. Coming to L&D, the biggest thing that is going to hit us and all of us must be ready with is data-driven skill advice. Means people are going to be told what they need to develop, what competencies they need to be developed based on data analytics. Human beings are going to intervene less. Data is going to tell people. So that's what it is. The second one, artificial intelligence is going to advise people's expected career trajectory. I repeat it, artificial intelligence is going to advise people's expected career trajectory. So if you're working in a particular role in an organization, artificial intelligence tools are going to be used to tell you what is going to be a career trajectory, and that is based on various things that you're doing in your current role, based on the feedback, based on the data that you are handling, and so on and so forth. I will tell you what all the things L&D and we as consultants must be ready in order to address this. Second, there's going to be a transformation in succession planning because L&D plays a role in succession planning. Succession planning is not going to be top down. It is going to be based on various categories within the organization as to who is ready for the next particular project. The next big thing that I want to talk about in terms of the change that we are going to see is how the role of the learning officers in organizations is going to change. Now, please listen carefully. The chief learning officers, their role and the way they're going to look at L&D is going to transform. Thereby, the role of learning managers, L&D managers, and external consultants like us will also change. So let us look at this change. First one, leadership development is going to be reshaped completely. So we'll expand more on that because for want of time, I'm just going to the second one. The second thing that chief learning officers or learning directors or learning heads will be looking at is they're going to move from concentration. Concentration is going to be more on capabilities and not competence, which means that there is going to be slightly lesser focus on skills and more on mindset and behaviors to perform tasks that are not well defined. So more emphasis is going to be given for people who have the capability to work under ambiguity. This goes back to the VUCA thing that Suma mentioned. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on digital thinking, okay? Using digital tools and digital communication methods. The next change that chief learning officers are going to drive is they were going to drive the thing called cultivating curiosity and a growth mindset. So what is this? When it comes to learning, there will be a pull mode of learning wherein employees can set their own learning agenda. Okay, nobody will tell them that this is what you need to learn. The pull mode of learning will be employees set their own learning agenda. And to make this more lucrative, an example will be people will be given a scholarship if they want to take up a work-related learning, which is a topic that is specifically connected to their role they do, provided they give a guarantee that they will teach the skill to 10 other people in the organization. So this community learning is going to pick up a lot. The next thing that chief learning officers are going to change, they are going to transforming learning methods. So the learning methods are going to change big time. What is the biggest change that is going to come? The first one, which has already been there, is going to be given a lot of emphasis, which is called peer teaching, teaching between peers. It's not one training department which will be involved in training, but peer teaching will be the norm. The second thing, learning whenever, wherever, which means that people will be given the should be given the freedom of learning whenever they want and wherever they want. Game-based simulations and real-time provocations will become the next generation learning methods which chief learning officers will apply. The next biggest thing that we also need to remember is chief learning officers post-COVID are going to optimize learning inventory. They are going to use a lot of analytics to find out what is those kind of content which are not being used, and they're going to remove out. So a lot of content which is not being used is going to be removed. So this optimizing of learning inventory is also something that we as learning consultants should be up to date with. The learning officers are also going to balance something between face-to-face and digital learning. There's going to be a more nimble approach towards using face-to-face and digital, not that face-to-face will go off. In face-to-face, there's going to be a big rethink. Face-to-face learning will happen more in terms of people learn with case studies, and very specifically, it's to do with three-dimensional case studies. Your traditional case studies are somebody takes up a case and then he goes through it and he comes to the solution. Three-dimensional case studies is that a particular case is solved by multiple people within a closed framework or subset of a team, and each of them play a role within that case study, and they brainstorm and come up with how they can handle that. Thereby they learn. That is called three-dimensional case study. The other change that chief learning officers will bring is they'll go beyond instruction. So it's just not, learning is not going to be just instructive in nature. Learning is going to be instruction, reflection, then immersion and introspection. So this is what will lead to micro learning, because if introspection and immersion doesn't happen, micro learning is obviously not in place. Learning departments are going to get transformed. How? The word trainer is going to see a big change. Going forward, all of us must avoid using the word trainer. We are to call ourselves transformers. We are not, the trainer model is gone. There is nothing called trainer anymore. We are only transformers. We can't train because training has not now got re-centralized. So we will, from a trainer mode, chief learning officers have moved into a transformer learning mode. They will hire. So what are the kind of skills they will look for in people in learning transformers like us? So the chief learning officers will hire learning strategists. They will hire experienced designers. They will hire curators. And they will hire software developers. So now we know what kind of skills we need to be up to date with. I repeat, the biggest requirement will be for learning strategists, not trainers, learning strategists. Second, experienced designers. Third, curators. And fourth, software developers. So these are the four big roles that will sell big time in companies. And this is what big learning officers will be looking at. Trainers must become curators and co-creators. Trainers, we should avoid using the word trainers, or there is nothing called a training department. Here afterwards, it's a curation and co-creating content for people to use. And finally, of course, chief learning officers, learning departments will definitely measure impact in organizations. So these are the big changes that are coming. So if I were to summarize all these things, what are the vital skills that will be in demand, and because of which we as learning consultants must be prepared to develop and have our transformational models ready. So I'm saying not training modules, because we are transformers, we need to have a transformational models ready. There are 7 big skills that is going to be very relevant and going to rock the entire world after this COVID episode. Number 1.
Daisy, if I may interrupt, please.
Yes.
There's a request for you to go a little slow.
Okay. I was just keeping to the 5-minute.
That's okay. Take 6 doesn't matter.
Okay. So let me then put an emphasis here. I started off talking about what are the big changes that are going to happen in HR in terms of agile. What are the changes that are going to happen in coaching, in leadership development, and so on. And then I came into how the chief learning officers are going to change. The reason why I'm putting it like this is because we as independent consultants will have to change based on how the CLOs change. Like for example, if the chief learning officers are changing the way they are doing stuff, then we'll also have to change. So that is what I've been taking you guys through. So one thing that I like to focus is post this kind of a recession. So this is a very big recession that we are going to see. So here on, there is going to be a lot of concentration on capabilities and not competence. Mark my words, on capabilities. So what does it mean? It is going to focus less on skills and more on mindset. So we need to be ready with offerings which will help organizations and their people develop capabilities rather than a particular skill. So DAZL cannot be, as a learning consultant, how does it impact DAZL? So DAZL can't say that, I'm a leadership trainer. No. So, DAZL will not be able to live in this world if he just to say, I have a skill that I have to offer. No, let's not focus only on skills. Let's focus on offering learning interventions or offering learning methodologies which will help people for more focus on mindsets and behaviors rather than one particular skill. There's a lot of emphasis on digital thinking. This is going to be a challenge for all of us. A lot of L&D consultants, not all, some L&D consultants, have a challenge when it comes to the digital space. Whether we like it or not, we need to get digitally savvy. So that's something that we need to pick up. The other thing that I want to talk about is, optimizing learning inventory is going to be something that's going to have a big change in the L&D front. So how does it impact us as learning consultants? We need to be up and running with understanding how analytics works. So we need to up ourselves in terms of understanding how to use simple analytics tools. So whether you want to pick up open source programs from Udemy, Coursera, LinkedIn Learning, please get up to date with analytics. Digital learning is going to be there. If you are a case study based trainer, if you are a trainer who uses case studies frequently, good news. Please develop three-dimensional case studies because that is going to help the change that chief learning officers are looking for. So the idea is, for learning consultants, an L&D manager, an L&D head, vice president L&D, or learning consultants, independent learning consultants, what are the big pillars that we should be, strong with? We should build capabilities as learning strategists. We should be able to help support organizations in building their learning strategy. There might be certain organizations who will be now struggling with building the L&D function. They'll have no clue. They might have been running with a traditional L&D function of having a few training programs, 2 trainers, 1 voice and accent trainer, 1 business trainer. We will have to help them realize and break this down into into a different agile strategy. We need to help consult organizations and help them with experience designing. So learning has to be an experience. Learning is not a particular occurrence. So we need to be learning strategists. We need to be experienced designers, and we need to also develop and be able to curate the learning experience for people rather than just go and train. So training as a function is very fluid now. And of course, software developers. So if you have an IT niche, then you can maybe try your hand at developing e-learning modules using Intuit or Creative or CopU and so on and so forth. But that's not so important as compared to the other 3. The idea is we must become learning transformers. I repeat, let's stop using the word trainers. Post-COVID, we're all learning transformers, transforming the learning experience, which means we are curators and co-creators. Now, what kind of learning programs or what kind of learning offerings, when I as a learning consultant approach the market post this, when everything comes back, and organizations ask me, hey, Suma, or hey, Sabina, or hey, Thirumal, what kind of areas can you help my people? We should be able to at least tell them that, be able to offer some consulting in one of the 7 vital skills that is very, very important in this digital world. The first one that I'll pick up, what is called as journey thinking, which is nothing but applying human-centered design to transforming customer and employee journeys. The second one is digital technologies, how to use electronic tools and systems to reduce complexity. If you can give some coaching based on that, that would be great. Agile practices. As a learning consultant, you can help organizations develop agile practices, how to develop agile teams to drive business value. As learning consultants, we can offer data-driven thinking programs using data to make better decisions. Digital communication is the other vital skill that organizations will look for. What is digital communication? Which is nothing but using social media and other electronic means of communication to promote products. Compliance and risk. How to innovate while staying conscious of risks. Now, this is something that learning consultants can have a very unique role to play. How can I innovate while staying conscious of risks? I mean, I can now itself imagine if all of us sit together, we can develop a beautiful program on this thing called innovating while staying conscious of risks. We know what risks people are forced to. Now, the biggest risk that people are forced is the risk of losing their own jobs, which is getting sucked into this thing called competence. Because the world wants to now develop people who are more of capability and mindset rather than one particular skill. And then the other skill that is going to be in that learning officers are going to look at is digital, how to use digital business models, how digital innovation is going to change the business landscape and employees in organizations are going to use in their environment. So in effect, the message that I'd like to leave you with is post-COVID, 2020-21 onwards, let's overcome this thing called trainers. We are transformers. We don't train, we transform. We create a learning experience. We co-create. We build we create the experience that people require. And then, primarily speaking, we are the navigators for the CEO. So basically, you can call yourself the co-pilots who can transform businesses through these learning experiences.
All right. Thank you, Daisel. That was quite detailed. Thank you for elaborating, and we'll come back to what you've shared towards the later half. Who'd like to go first?
Sabina, may I? Oh, anybody?
Okay,
I'm okay. Whichever way, however I'm pleased. I'm okay with it.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Arpita from Born in Flight. I would like to go next because I'm just going to attach few points to what Daisel said, so I don't have to repeat them.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Okay, fine. So I must appreciate the thought process of Daisel, who had went through right from the point A to point Z, perfectly captured. So I must say that COVID has the speed and the stuff. Yes, it was coming in. It's not that COVID which is bringing all this. It's just speeded up. We are working with major L&D heads of multinational companies right now, and like exactly what Daisel said, we are working on assessment tools. So in HR area, the recruitment is going to change. It is going to take a shape because there'll be more and more assessment and recruitment tools which are going to be used to get the right workforce. Number one. Second, the same workforce who is there, like what Daisel attached for the performance management or performance checking, there also we are developing tools, digital tools to assess the performance, not on every quarter, but on every day basis. So there are going to be checkpoints where, they report to a software where it is checking them. So the tools are coming in place. Right now with the multinational companies, later probably every company would adapt to that process. So that was another point I wanted to make. Then another point was compliances. Compliances for the HR department are going to go more. For example, harassments, in difference between employee, directly employed under the company through the contractor. So there are some details coming in which will differentiate both the employees who are on direct roles and who are on contract based. So compliances are going to come over there. And of course, a feedback system is going to change. We are developing a tools where employee is giving a feedback on employer. The reason why I say this is that there is a report recently, I will share you the link of the report later, which says that as on now, 2020, we have 35%, the workforce is divided this way, 35% of millennials, 35% of Gen X, 24 of Gen Z, and 6 of boomers. So attrition is going to be another challenge, or millennials are just like they will not stay in one place if certain things are not happening in one format. So that format would be the environment. It should be world or global environment. And second is like what Daisel said, what is that I am interested in learning. So it's no more like a company suggesting these are the learning modules you should go through. It is the employees who would suggest to the employer that these are the modules I need to go through to sustain in my role and also to grow in the role. So those opportunities needed to be provided by the employer. So that and remote management is going to grow more digitally more and more. Workforce will come back to normal, but looks like one of the assessments says looks like more there will be people who will be working remotely too. So how do we develop that trust factor, having the remote access to the employees? So that was one. And then client relations, it's not related to HR, but client relations with the sales, especially with the field sales, is going to change, take a change in place. So these are only the points, but the rest, Daisel covered it in detail. And I will share the links of the reports which I am speaking from. Thanks.
Thank you, Arpita.
Yeah.
Yes, Suman, you can go.
Thank you so much. I would like to start off with a disclaimer. No offense meant to anybody on board today, tomorrow, or in the yesteryears. My assumption while I'm starting this simulation is that we have mature transformers, if I may use that word from you, Daisel, mature transformers or trainers present on board. What I am talking about is how can we be ready for the unknown? We have seen a lot of crises happening in the past. If we are to believe experts, this is something that is unprecedented. If it is unprecedented, even getting up from the 2008 subprime crisis took us a lot. We saw companies falling. We saw predictions going all over the place. Today, if we are to look at Ratan Tata, a message is being floating around in WhatsApp groups about how every prediction made by experts in the yesteryears went wrong. To quote just one, after Second World War, Japan was cast to doom. It wouldn't even think of rising up. Today, 3 decades later, it is challenging US. Israel has a similar story. If that has been a world scenario, my question we need to ask ourselves, all of us, is what do we get prepared for? Lovely inputs given by Daisel, fantastically supplemented by Arpita. But I want to ask you, what are you addressing when you don't know what the future has in store for you? Why I say this is every prediction by experts, Arpita, I'm quoting what you said, has failed in the recent past, and messages are floating. It's full of, it's there in the business news. How are we going to predict the future? While superb suggestions on the expected norms can be made and have been made by the 2 speakers so far, I want to focus on one thing, your gut instinct, your business instinct. Can we focus on instincts right now? What do we do today? Do we educate ourselves, get abreast with what needs to be taken care of as per our predictions or as per predictions of experts? As Suma mentioned, it's a VUCA world, has been happening all the time. Do we get ready for that? I want to focus a little and build on what Daisel said. Daisel spoke about 3-dimensional case studies. I want to go a step further. I want to go into simulation aspects. Can we simulate something that is unpredictable? I'll start off with an example. Look at the pilots. If today I am going to give you an offer to the L&D group that, we've done wonders in the past. Imagine organizing a session, Suma and Sabina and the organizers here. You're doing such a wonderful session right now. Great going. Can we take you to some destination that has been in your dream? Let's say the world opens tomorrow, Corona crisis fizzles out, and then can we take you to Las Vegas? And all of us jump to it. You know what? This is being funded by Google. So free for all of us. The aircraft has been designed, chosen, and you go business class. You go to the aircraft. It's going to be a superb journey and insurance given by the airline. The takeoff is going to be excellent. The flight is outstanding. The service on board, rest assured, you wouldn't have seen anything on land. Just one glitch. Landing in Las Vegas, 98% confirmed. Just 2%, you might not land. Why? The pilot is not trained on anything that is unknown. My question to you is, his simulations, his instincts have not been challenged. We, as professionals, need to understand how is it different for the business world. My suggestion to you is, can we focus on simulations and ensure that everything that is unknown is picked up by our instincts? I would like to share a slide. If it opens, if I can share, it'll be great. If I can't, I'll still continue talking about it. Can my slides be seen by all? Hello? Hello?
Not yet.
Okay, no issues, not at all.
You can share it on the group later.
Yeah, I'll share it on the group. So what I'm focusing today, and I'm not looking at what we can be prepared for tomorrow. I'm focusing on today, and I would like to share with you, 2 business schools have signed up with us. We have finished one session with one business school, which is from Trichy, BIM Trichy. We have finished with 120 participants on Trichy, and the focus has just been this. Can we be prepared for an unknown tomorrow? What should we do today? So we focused on just this, and we finished a session with them. We are in the process of finishing a session with VJIM Hyderabad, and that is what we are doing right now. Why are we doing this? Because it is a workshop which just focuses on this. It takes you on a tour. What is this? It is something like a virtual company which arouses your business instinct. What do? You take over a failed company. The market conditions are terrible. You cannot predict the future. You have the fear of the unknown, the fear of failure. You want to increase your appetite of risk, but don't know the result of taking that risk. Are you ready to take over the unknown? Please take over as the CEO of this company, which incidentally is a manufacturing company. We are often asked, why manufacturing? I am into, as L&D heads or as HR heads or HR people, we are into a service industry. So why should we take over a manufacturing industry? My question is, none of us, or I would like to reverse the statement. I would say each one of us has a qualification that is worthy of being a qualification of this entire group. We have our USPs. We have our specializations. We have our own way of connecting to people, the linking. I was speaking to Suma before everybody came in, and she spoke about how she connected to the student world and how the corporate world was great. She enjoyed that too, but the student world, and she still gets mails or communication from the student community. Why is that the case? Because she has connected emotionally to this. So what does the simulation do that other trainings or other specialities don't do, that a case study doesn't do? I'm just specifying on one aspect of training, a case study. A case study is superb. It's a 20-20 match because you're always working on hindsight. A simulation looks forward. It gives you a challenge. It checks out on your instincts. You take decisions now. It gives you a result of your decisions. So you take accountability of your decisions now. That is what a simulation is. So I'll talk about how our simulation is viewed in the professional world. In the professional world, when we go to corporates to do the simulation, they call it upskilling. We do the same skilling for the undergraduates. That is 11th, 12th classes, maybe intermediate. We've done a program called TIE, the Indus Entrepreneurs for the TIE, the young entrepreneurs under the banner of the Indus Entrepreneurs. You'll be amazed at their business instincts. They don't know the culture of the corporate world. They don't know how the corporate world works, but their business instincts are superb. postgraduates are faced with a unique problem. Whenever they go for for any employment, they were told, you don't have experience. So they talk about this simulation as doing an internship in a Fortune 500 company. Why is it so? Because on no other platform do you get an opportunity to take over as CEO. Can we as L&D heads or L&D specialists take over a CEO of a company? Take over a company that doesn't know what tomorrow is all about. And when you take over a company, you see it's a very competitive world. What does your company do? It manufactures genetic testing devices in the medical industry. The product is substandard today. Bad market conditions today. You have employees who you're paying for work they are not even producing, leave alone what is expected of consultants. Your internal employees are not doing. Would you like to hire a consultant? Do you know what that comes under? Under the SaaS model, does it come under the the OPEX or the CAPEX? Can you see how you appear on a finance sheet? Are we able to measure the training effectiveness on a finance sheet? How does the L&D head see us? Are we being paid too little for the services that we render? Or are we being paid too much for the services we render? Unless we are able to measure what you do, how can we then say, this is the impact it had now, this is the impact it will have in the future? So two ambiguities I've brought around, which I just want you to think. First ambiguity, you don't know what the future is all about. You never knew, even in the subprime crisis, how many years did it take? Today, experts are talking about 2 years for the economy to come back. Experts are even talking about banning China and having India as the next destination. We are seeing what our politicians are doing vis-a-vis offering aid to the world and how they're trying to establish a connect. So your guess is as good as mine, but at the end of it, it's a guess nevertheless. Supposing I make you take over a company and make you compete with other artificial intelligence companies. The artificial intelligence companies are programmed to take over certain aspects which you did not expect. Now, under those unexpected conditions, how do you perform? As HR heads, if we can't virtually take over a company, how can we train people and tell them what to do correctly in the future? There is a whole host of deliverables present on simulation platforms. Friends, I just want you to spend a little time, and believe me, why I'm so excited, and I called up Sabina to say I want to deliver this training because I see this as a need of our. I need your help. I need your help to talk about doing something today, not just in terms of knowledge, in terms of instincts. Do any of your children play with business games? Video games. Do any of you participate these days playing games with your children? Watch their excitement. Watch how it engages their senses. Watch how it triggers their emotions. And it manipulates time on a risk-free environment. I need your help to spread the word. If you need to know how to earn today, this is an excellent platform. All simulative platforms are doing wonderfully well. You can check out Business Times today. They're doing extremely well, as some of our Kirana stores are doing around our corner. Some of our Sabji Mandis are doing around our corner. This is an excellent time for us to come together. It is not me versus you. It is our community. I want your help. Tell me what I can do to partner with you in terms of sharing the revenue that is generated today and tomorrow. The revenue is huge. The need of the hour is today. It is not getting prepared for tomorrow. It is equipping people for today to face we don't know what for tomorrow.
Right. Thank you so much, Suman. That was very interesting and intriguing what you've just shared about the simulation. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions that many of us might have, but I think we'll leave that for the end. And maybe if there are many more people who are more interested and to know how this is done, I think we can have a separate session with you specifically for that. Thank you, Suman.
So much. Thank you.
Who would like to share next? I understand, Shrikant, you're here. Shrikant, would you like to share your views?
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, Shrikant. I just can't see you.
Oh, okay. In my video. Okay.
Yes, please, if you can.
Am I visible?
Yes, yes, you may go ahead, Shrikant.
Okay. So, hi everybody. I think it's been good discussions from last 30 minutes. A lot of insights from Dazzle, Arpita, and Suman. So, I've been in this industry from last 15 years, worked with organizations like Wipro, HCL, and all. I agree with a lot of points where, the trend of learning has changed over these 15 years and is going to definitely change. But not to offend anybody, but there are a lot of perceptions being built around learning and development. There's a lot of hype being created of learning and development. I would want to bring to the basics again. One simple question I have is, we talk about a lot of restaurants everywhere in different cities, right? Even in Hyderabad, we see a lot of restaurants happening. So which type of restaurant do you prefer? Would you like to go to a restaurant which is really expensive, having high ambience, giving fantastic food and all? And or would you like to go for a decent restaurant with good quality of food, having number of varieties, wherever possible? Or the third one is where you get roadside, very yummy and tasty food and all. Which one do you prefer? Any quick answers?
Yummy and tasty food.
Yummy and tasty food, okay.
Side, yeah.
Yeah, consistently tasty and good hygienic.
Hygienic, okay.
Depends on the time and the people we are going with or the occasion.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think 3 people answered this, and
Yeah, Shrikant, for me, it would just be a mood thing. I would love to have pani puri right now if I could get it on the roadside.
I know a lot of people are carving for pani puri on the internet as well.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so I think we all should observe that every kind of business has its own customers, right? So everybody wants to opt the kind of place where you want to go according to your mood or your budget or your people with whom you're planning to go. So similarly, every organization has their own expectations. Now we have 3 types of organizations in the industry. One is startup, one is mid-size, and the other one is large organizations which are there. When you talk about large organization, a lot of things are already established. There are a lot of learning evangelists who are already there, strategists who are already there, chief learning officers who are already there, and they are having their own plans. And they come up with companies like this large organization who are spending revenue on these kind of learning initiatives have plans in place of how to handle crisis situations and how to handle learning in difficult situations. The most important objective of learning and development officers in those large organizations is every employee in my organization able to learn in that typical period. Right, everything is there and it is in place. Now come to the mid-size organization. Now in if you look at the mid-size organization, more than 70 to 80% of mid-size organization doesn't have a structured learning and development team. That's where most of the business come to external and third party vendors, and of course the large organizations also do definitely partner. Now here what happens is these are the organization which doesn't go in completely structured approach, and where they are the one who's looking for partnering with learning and development strategies, coming up with different kinds of plans in place and making things work out in difficult situation. And startups are something, irrespective of time, they cannot focus on learning and development because they need to sustain in the market first, and then they look up for the learning and development. The trend of recruitment has changed. Earlier days, people used to focus saying that, okay, even if the person whom I'm hiring is 70% fit for that role, I'm ready to take and let the 30% be for him to learn throughout the year. But today it's not like that. If you look at companies like Google, companies like Microsoft, do you think that they have a dedicated learning and development teams? They don't have dedicated learning and teams. They have learning and development consultants, who work with the leaders and a couple of other resources. Now, what is happening is they are hiring people with almost 90 plus, percentage of competency match. Why they are looking at is, a couple of our friends told previously, saying that this world has changed and people are not looking at permanently staying in any organization for longer duration. So that is the reason the companies also changed their approach, saying that, okay, when I'm hiring, I need not hire a person with 70%. Let me hire a person who is either 90%, 100%, sometimes even 120%, having the competency to get into that role. Now, in this tenure, whatever he is there or she is there, am I giving the learning for that particular person? That is the basic need. Okay, irrespective of our luxuries, for us to go for the restaurants or not, food becomes the basic need of it, right? So it is important that the basic need of the organization is being available or not available. Irrespective of times, when you get a difficult project, whatever strategy we do, you need to still go ahead and do the niche skill technology training immediately to get the project. If you want to get onboard 20 people into a specific project and you don't have that competency, you need to get that skill trained on that. So it is very important that we need to act and we need to work on that. Now, a couple of trends what the L&D learning and development is focusing for the upcoming is, it has not changed because of COVID. Okay, there is a change since last 10 years. People are looking at learning and development as a function which is benefiting to the industry. So COVID-19 has given a gap for all of us to think whether we are doing correct or not, or can we do better. Okay, so here what I feel is, couple of very interesting trends what we are looking at is e-learning. One is the digital learning. Even when you're talking about digital learning has three different approaches, which is basically like alpha, beta, and gamma. Okay, so just the way how I spoke about three different types of restaurants, there are three different types of offerings. So how do you want to engage the employees? Decide on that, and then you actually give the employee according to that particular need. Create the e-learning according to that. Micro learning. People doesn't have time to sit for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours and learn, right? Create small nuggets. Keep it simple. Okay, and the technology has so changed. In the olden days, we don't have. See, today we are day in, day out walking with knowledge in our hand, right? There is a Google in your hand. You don't know anything. Click on Google. Google will tell you everything, right? But everything we as L&D team are focusing is for a structured approach, right? So you need to focus on giving the structured approach, create that small nuggets, make the things available. So I'll tell you another example. There are many companies in the industry who doesn't even have a learning management system in the place. Do you know this? This is one of the biggest challenge. We are talking about lot big things. There's small basic things which they don't have. They don't have learning management system in place. Tomorrow, when you're talking about digital learning, without LMS, can anybody do a digital learning? We can't do a digital learning. These all will be learning nuggets through emails and all, which will not help. You need to have a track of what we are doing. We are talking about learning and development metrics. How do you calculate the learning and development metrics when you don't have a proper learning management system in place? Excels will help you, but not up to 100%, right? So when you talk about a management, leader who wants to track of how the entire organization is, prospecting on their learning and development, they need to have a learning management in place, right? So learning management system is one of the important, trend or a tool which you need to look at. E-learning tools like Articulate Storyline, Camtasia, these are all the tools which you need to look at. Assessment tools, they're very, very important that every learning is aligned with an assessment, right? And include a case study with the help of simulation, right? People want experience. People want to know what is happening. They want a story. They want a simulation. They want to experience, right? So these are the tools which you need. And micro learning, bit-sized learning, structured learning, gamification. So I think these are certain things which people are looking at. And, the entire group who is there in this team or in this WhatsApp group, I keep following with them. Everybody is fantastic. You are on top of your competencies, your skills, your technology, and I'm sure L&D is going to have much, much more business down the line. So I think with this, I just want to, say thank you to all of you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Shrikant. Good points there as well. Next, who would like to go in? Krishna, are you there? Nath?
Yes, Sabina. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I just have a question. I I'm sorry, I did not prepare what I have to prepare.
Who is this? Sorry, I can't. Is this not?
This is not, yes.
Okay, we couldn't
I'm not
see you.
able to hear. Yeah, I just have a quick question. It's an open question. Anybody can answer it. I work for Evoke Technologies. I take care of training for Evoke Technologies. And since the lockdown has begun, the company is wondering whether to invest on training or to take a backseat for some time because of the uncertainty. We're not sure how the future is going to be. US, I understand, is losing a lot of jobs because of the economy slowdown and stuff like that. So we're still not sure whether to go in for training or whether to just stay quiet for some time. Anybody could answer this, please.
May I attempt a little, Nath?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Nath, I don't know whether there is any good time or bad time to do a little investment on self. There are such good companies offering lovely nuggets. I think Dazzle came up with 3 or 4 companies which are offering great nuggets of information. So to go in for training, I don't know why there would be any second thoughts. To upskill yourself, why should there be second thoughts? But yes, if it is specific to the task that you're doing, maybe you'd like to wait a little.
Great. Thank you so much for that input. But in fact, we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Organization is looking forward to get all the people trained because they have a lot of bandwidth now that we all are working from home.
Mm-hmm.
So there is this uncertainty in everyone's mind. How is it going to be 1 month down the lane or 2 months down the lane?
Now, can we have your video on, please? It'll be nice if we can.
Well, I am so sorry, Sabina. My laptop does not have a camera.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sure. Go ahead. Thank you.
So just to add to what I was saying, Suman, so this meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago, a lot
Yes.
of, in fact, we always promote training. We always promote the concept of learning because we do not want that to hit the wall. We do not want that stagnation zone, etc., etc. We want people to learn. We want people to upskill. I mean, lockdown era, everybody has one common reason. I mean, there is this bandwidth issue. We don't have time because we're very busy doing what the client wants us to do. Now that we have a lot of time at our disposal, I think this is a very good opportunity for people to learn and upskill. However, uncertainty factor is something which is at least making me think twice before I take a step forward. So this is what I am experiencing right now. However, having said this, I am in touch with a lot of vendors who have been very kind enough to offer some nice complimentary webinars on different things, be it technical or be it how to handle this COVID-19 situation, how to make sure the learning is incessant during this time and things like that.
That's wonderful.
And one good thing that is happening is, in fact, I myself have offered, I was talking to a few friends of mine who belong to the same fraternity. I've, in fact, told them that I'm open to do some sessions. It's more like an exchange, skill exchange. I have somebody who wants to do something which I do not know. I'd be more than happy to have him or her on board to do something for my company, and I'll be more than happy to contribute to some other companies and things like that. I think we are at a stage where we all have to support each other and make sure learning does not take a backseat, if I make sense.
Yeah,
Nath, I'm not trying to sell myself. I'm so sorry. May I complete?
Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I'm not trying to sell myself, but I'd love to discuss with you. Maybe there is something we could talk about. Thank you so much.
Sure, Suman. I'd love to. I look forward to talking to you.
One quick reaction to what Nath mentioned about what to when organizations were thinking whether to invest in learning and development and all these things. While I was putting all these data together, I spoke to a few learning directors and CLOs of various organizations I've connected with, and one of the things that they emphasized was this is a question that a lot of organizations are facing, and they said that is where the learning strategist brain comes into the picture, and they're taking it one step behind and asking this question to themselves: is that in what direction is the organization heading to, and what kind of where will learning have a strategic impact? If that question is asked regularly, they will be able to figure out what kind of investments and time and effort needs to be put in. So the question is very valid. And something that I also asked a lot of the CLOs whom I spoke to, and they said the question that they are asking one step behind is to see that with all these issues happening in this pandemic and the way it is impacting the economy and the organization's metrics, the question they're asking is, if this is the change the organization is seeing and this is what the organization will be facing, what will be the role of, what kind of strategy should L&D apply? When they answer that question, they're getting a lot of answers in terms of where to invest money, whether it is to be in micro learning or simulations or whatever, and it differs from organization to organization. Just my thought.
That's a lovely thought, Dazzle. I'll definitely connect with you. I do want your inputs, superb inputs. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Diesel, for pitching in. That makes sense. I think it's all about strategy now, how to plan and things.
Yeah.
All right. Now, who would like to go next? Krishna, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm
Yes.
here. Can you guys see me or possibly?
Yes,
Hear
we
me?
can. Hi,
Okay.
Krishna, we can.
Good. Yeah, interestingly, last 15 days has been slightly hectic. And something very interesting happened on Sunday night and Monday. So we are forming a leadership circle of close to around 60 to 65 CHROs and CEOs combined. And these are companies like Applied Materials in San Jose, Halliburton from Houston, and we have Arbaco from in Dubai, and of course in India it is Lupin, and quite a few organizations, like Kirloskar Group, Ashok Leyland, Dr. Reddy's, Mylan, and in Bangalore it's AstraZeneca, Chennai, of course, Ashok Leyland, and in Singapore again we are forming a group. So this group has just come to an existence. We are calling it as a learning leadership circle. Okay, and so far we have around 64 CEOs and CHROs. I mean, typically managing directors, and we are also having people from ISB. We are all, just give me a sec. Sorry, I have 3 dogs at home, 3 big dogs. So that's proper. Okay, so we have this, and we had our first introductory telecon, and it was facilitated by Dr. Akhil Kumar from from the Austin. He is from the University of Texas Austin. Okay. One is there is a hell a lot of financial uncertainty in the minds of CEOs and CHROs.
Yes.
Okay, so point one is all increments and all investments and any programs will be reviewed not before October. Okay, so they're expecting by June they would get back to work and they would do that. Okay, so what are the HR heads talking about? First is I think the focus is on retention and if required redeployment, and third option is of course outplacement. The entire oil industry, be it Halliburton, Chevron, Armaco, and Shell, British Petroleum, they are in a verge of absolute collapse. Okay, their money is going to get drained out. So these guys are going to review, they're reviewing how to have their employees. So in fact, if only the employees are there, then the training and learnings and all happens, I guess. Okay, so that's first thing. Second thing is there is a lot of challenge with employee morale and motivation. Okay, so already there is a disaster. Many of the hazardous industries are now getting into scenario planning exercise because many of the planes wouldn't fly. In fact, I don't know if you know, planes have to be serviced regularly, and in the last 15 days, I don't know how many planes would really be able to fly. I mean, they are trying to get them up and running. Absolutely. So it actually means there is going to be a lot of capital loss or a capital, that will get struck. We also call it as a non-performing asset that will be. So, I mean, we had a call of around an hour and a half, which started at around 1 a.m. India time, got over at 2 a.m. India time, and we realized that the need of the hour right now is how do you hold back the employee and make them feel safe and secure from a economic and the employment part of view. Okay, so that is one thing. Second thing is that what kind of a financial strategies that you need to put in place so that the companies wouldn't just get drained, die. All those people who are feeling the pharma industry is making a lot of money right now because they are making a lot of drugs and sending it to America and Europe. They are also equally worried because will they get their money back? Whatever is being sold right now, do the countries have money? Because right now, if you cannot say, if you give me money, I will sell. Because if you say that, you will be the bad guy in the world. So they are still selling it, but with the fear that how will the revenue click in? Okay, so this is another one. So, I mean, one of the things which we came at the end of it is right now, I think the priority for organizations are the safety and security of the employees, and counseling services are in big demand. Okay, a lot of American companies have launched their employee assistance program, or which they otherwise call it EAP. So EAP has been launched, and in fact, even today morning, I have a request from Sujata Ameya. I don't know how many of you know her. She is a leading counselor in Hyderabad. In fact, she is also asking for people who are qualified counselors or people with a psychology background. If you guys can volunteer, there's a lot of need for that. Okay. So this is it, and of course, in terms of strategies that organizations are adopting, like ISB has decided to suspend all its executive education program for this year. Okay, it may come as a shocker to most of you, or maybe you may be wondering what, because one is none of the physical programs will happen till the almost September, October, because that's what a lot of people feel, that you may not have any conferences till before that. I suppose till that the social distancing will be extended. Secondly is that companies which have already lost 2 months of productivity wouldn't like to now, deploy their manforce, the human resources to a training right now. So ISB, in practical, they are decided not to pursue executive education for 2020. Maybe by November, December, they may revive this, and then possibly they say something, but they have done that. Okay. Which actually also creates a fear that what will happen to the employees in that department. Okay, how will they get paid, or what will they do? So that's another thing which ISB is struggling with. Similarly, many of the IIMs have also decided to defer all their executive education programs. Okay, and even the admissions. ISB admissions will happen in the July, which was otherwise used to happen in April. Now they are also worried about how will they finish the courses, and why I'm sharing these challenges is that which ultimately impacts the time availability for L&D, learning and development. Forget everything else, because I think today that's the gloomy picture right now. One thing which we concluded that discussion last Sunday night or Monday morning was, I think probably by the end of May, there may be some clarity about how to pursue any of the HR interventions. Even the CHROs and CEOs right now are keeping their mouth shut on what they should be talking as well. So they are saying, let's wait till the end of May and let's look at it. These are some facts which we are doing it at. Of course, this was an initiative of two of us. There is a gentleman called Anil Grover. He is basically runs a Atmatva Consulting, and myself. We realized that in the last 1 month, there has been a lot of no clarity in terms of what it should be done. In fact, we even had a meeting with Mr. Subramaniam, Professor Subramaniam of ISB, former professor, who is now the economic advisor to the government of India. You would see him very often with the government ministry. So we had a brief meeting with him last week. Over the call, the three of us talked about it. And somewhere we realized that there were a lot of ifs and buts. So we said, okay, let us form a small body which gives us some kind of a ground reality. And so whatever I'm talking about is a part of that ground reality. And I'm done. I can always take some questions at the end whenever somebody wants. I'm going to mute now.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Is there any other speaker who would like to speak? All right. Can we have all the speakers switch on their cameras so we can have all the speakers on the screen? Daisal, Arpita, Shrikant. All right. Great. So now that all the speakers on camera, if there's something that you'd like to add to each other's, the sharing of inputs or share something, you may do so or ask each other questions. We leave the floor open to all the speakers now to have your discussion.
I have a question, for Krishna. I understand from your conversation with some industry leaders, they've said that things are pretty fluid now, can't predict. What has been your understanding from them in terms of hello? Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So I did listen to you when you said that they at this point in time they don't want to comment on anything, they don't want to commit on anything. What was your gut feeling, or what did you sense from them in terms of this the coaching bit? Because I heard from some of my contacts that there is going to be some sea change in the way coaching is going to happen. They're going to have coaches, a mix of internal as well as external coaches. That's going to be a paradigm that's going to come up. Is that true, or if it's not, why? If it's yes, what's your thought on that?
Okay, so there is a rampant layoff that has already started.
Okay.
And I think a lot of small-time startups have already decided to lay off people. Okay, and I think some of the big organizations also are following. I mean, even companies like Ashok Leyland is preparing their list. Okay, so that is already started. Second is there is a lot of financial uncertainty, so these guys are still keeping mouth shut because capital markets have collapsed, which has eroded a lot of their capital.
Okay.
And second thing is, how will the payments come in right now for whatever that has already happened? It's a big question mark. Okay, there's going to be a lot of fear on the people. I think you guys must listen to this guy, Sanjeev Mehta's speech, the Hindustan Liver chairman speech. Okay, if you haven't heard it, I can always share that. It is, I think, there on the YouTube and all. So everybody is going to conserve cash right now. Okay, so liquid cash that they have, they are not going to play around with it. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of working capital issues. Companies will be very, very cautious about that. So given all this, and I think I play the dual role here. I play the CHRO role, plus my grooming started as an L&D manager. Okay, so I was part of Management Development Center in Ashok Leyland way back in 1991. Okay, so I have a good hardcore base in the training, and then I moved to industrial relations, and then I moved to head of HR roles. Okay, so right now I kind of don't get obsessed with the one side and get into the other side. So it's not that I don't get so obsessed with L&D that I always breathe like that, but I always look at from a business angle. Okay, given the financial crunch, uncertainties, and the kind of risk, and the way American economy, which is supposed to have completely collapsed. The same is with the story with Italy, France, Spain, UK, and most of the European countries right now. There is going to be a lot of gloomy future. So what these Indians, fortunately, Indian companies are that way safe because most of our manufacturing facilities are good enough to cater to the world right now. But world should have the money to buy. If they don't have the money, then there is going to be a big challenge. Okay, so they're all waiting for those $2 trillion American grant. Once we start tickling in, then the US economy will pick up. Guys are really worried about the European market. if that also picks up good enough. And the Middle East, the entire oil industry is in completely shambles, so you can't expect anything from the Middle East. So given this, I think till the end of May, which I guess is clarity will be, still the clarity will not come in. I mean, like one of the persons put it, we are still caught in that, the ship is still caught in the storm now, right now. So unless we see the shores, we don't know whether we will live or not. So, that's the kind of a feeling people are having.
Okay, so the thing is, things are pretty much in limbo now. They don't want to commit on anything because there's lack of investment. So whether it is coaching or simulations or whatever it is, they just want to wait and watch. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dezel, and thanks, Krishna, for the inputs. I hope that answers the question, Dezel.
Yes.
Okay, so do we have any other questions from the participants or from the speakers? Do we have any other questions to any specific speaker here?
Malini, Mamta here.
Yeah, Mamta.
I had a question for Dazzle, if I can ask right now.
Yes.
Yeah, Dazzle, thank you for your insights. I mean, amazing. I had a quick question about something that you mentioned during your. You said something about computational linguistics, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Would you mind elaborating a little on that?
So it is a AI-based method of actually tracking people's emails and communications that they're doing internally within the organization, of course, without breaching privacy, thereby being able to pull out what's actually happening with the culture. So the idea is culture is what? Culture is a combination of various things, right? How people behave with each other, how they communicate, how they respond, how they impact decisions. So computational logistics is an AI-based system which will get into the platform and track reactions of people across teams, and then apply algorithms to see whether what kind of culture is actually is nurtured, and then the organization accordingly takes actions to either mitigate them or to encourage them. So the idea is L&D consultants can also play a role in that.
Okay, thank you. So in a nutshell, it is basically to influence the culture of an organization.
Yes.
Thank you, Dazzle.
I hope that answers the question, Mamta.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Hi, Malini. I have a question. I'm Sunita here.
Sunita, hi. So do you have a question for any specific speaker?
Yes, it's for Krishna. Krishna, you were speaking about EAP and Sujata Ameya. Unfortunately, I had a voice disturbance at that point of time. Would you be able to repeat what you shared?
Yeah, so I think there is a demand for counselors right now. If you have an exposure to counseling, or you're trained in that area, or you have some qualifications which allow you to be a counselor, then there is I can possibly send you the link, or I can also connect you with Sujata. Okay, so there's a lot of requirement right now, because even in India, there's been a problem. In Hyderabad, there are problems. A lot of these people who have house loans, car loans, and personal loans, who are insecure about their jobs, have become quite erratic. In fact, in my own apartment, there is a couple which is almost come to the blows with each other. Okay, so it has been quite a disturbing trend right now. Okay, so they are looking for people, but this is a complimentary, free of cost service. So you can't expect any money for it. But yes, there is going to be some recognition.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I myself am working with many individuals, including individuals who are on their career transition, because companies have let go of many individuals since the last 4-5 months. So it's a very tough situation for many right now.
So you get in touch with me tomorrow morning. I am available.
Right.
So
sure. Thank you so much. Yeah.
So we've come to the fag end of the call right now, until we have any further questions from other participants.
Hi, Malini. I have a question.
Is this Tirmal?
Yeah, it's Ramana.
Oh, Ramana, hi. Yes, is it a generic question, Ramana?
Yeah, this is for Dazzle.
Okay. Dazzle, are you ready to take this
Yes.
question?
Yes.
Hi, Dazzle.
Yes, sir.
Your session was wonderful. And I just wanted to tell, this, you told, that there won't be any trainers, but in future there'll be learning transformers or transformers, whatever we call.
Yeah.
Just can you throw some light on this? And one more thing, what will be happening to these trainers? Like, it will be a standstill for in a couple of months? How long it will be? That is second question. And coming to, recently I read that 25 million people will be losing their jobs. All right.
Okay.
So in this kind of scenario, how training will get impacted? And what is your suggestion of trainers? How they should go about it? Should they become journalists or like specialists or find a niche area? So what's your opinion on that? Thank you.
So what I understood and, after talking to people is, nothing is going to happen to trainers. It's just that the trainer the mindset has to change from being a trainer to a transformer. So,
Okay.
So the objective is we need to, as learning professionals, we need to be focused on helping people develop the capability to transform. Whenever there are any situations that arise either in the market, in the economy, or within the organization, because this particular episode has taught a big lesson that there are a lot of skilled employees working in organizations who have lost their jobs. One of the reasons why they lost is, yes, of course, we all know that the organization runs short of resources, they can't pay people. That's one. The other thing is that people have unable to be, replicate their capabilities in other domains within the organization. So hence they become redundant. So when we coach and train people, and I should not use the word training, we need to impart capabilities in such a way that we will be able to help people understand how they should develop their capabilities, and rather than just focusing on one particular skill. So we are not, nothing is going to happen to trainers. Trainers are just going to have a different phase change, a completely transformation from what is called as training people to transforming people.
Okay, can I add to that, Dazzle, your answer?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so I like the word transformers because right now we are working with two corporate where we have, hired trainers and equipped them to be mentors and for them to understand assessment development centers. So right. This is a corporate like we are doing journeys with. Matlab, there is one batch which we do 8 months journey, wherein it is a competency-based training where we have in a month classroom training plus digital training plus assessment plus mentoring and hand-holding, and to see the change that is being taken into as objectives. So to answer this question, trainers need to upskill themselves to understand what assessments are, what are those tools, what is assessment development center, what is a mentor, how can you mentor, how can you become a coach. So these are the skills. Now it is a free time. Please try to equip yourself with these skills because this is what is expected out of trainers. So as you said, nothing will happen to trainers, but the trainers need to upskill themselves.
Upskill, yeah.
Well said. Yeah.
Sound good, yeah.
Thank you so much for the inputs, Dazzle and Arpita. I'm sure that is going to answer your question, Ramana. So we do have a hard stop right now. So can we, Sabina, do you want to take over? Sabina, are you there?
Yeah, thank you, Malini. Any other questions from the participants? Because if you don't have any questions, we'll ask the speakers to quickly give us summarize any action points if they want to take it further. For example, Suman said she had something in mind that she would like to help and she was requesting for help. You could then summarize the action points and then we can take it offline to see if you could give another session for you to share more about what you've just shared. So I open the floor to all the audience.
Sabina, Prashant here.
Yes, Prashant.
I have a question for Dazzle.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, Prashant.
Hey, Dazzle, thanks a lot. It was pretty insightful. Now you spoke about, competence and capability. And you also did mention about organizations, engaging, their own coaches in the organizations to, coach their employees. So whatever you have said, in fact, I've seen, this happening with few major organizations in the past 2-3 years.
Okay.
Now, the kind of unfortunate situation we are in. So, as an external coach, I have a question. So, from your own experience or the kind of interactions you had with L&D folks across, so what could be the percentage of, in organization post COVID? How many? What do you think? Would the organization still offer external coaches, or would you think most of the organizations would actually hire internal coaches and then curate content and help these people choose their learning programs and then coach them? So just wanted to understand what would happen in the next 2-3 months for external vendors like us.
Good question, Krishna. Well, I can't give you one answer at this point in time. As Krishna had mentioned, there are a lot. Each and every organization, depending on its financial status at this point in time, depending on what they're going through, they will take a call. Learning officers can't tell exactly that this is what you have to do, because a lot of organizations are walking on a tightrope at this point in time. They're really deciding whether they want to keep people or they want to let people off. So the question is, for those organizations who want to keep people, then there arises the question of, having in-house coaches and so on. So assuming that, in a few months, things will get normal and organizations start picking up, there will be a healthy blend, is what I understand when I spoke to people. There will be a healthy blend of internal as well as external coaches, because overall L&D has been always appreciative of having that mix of, they don't want to just have only internal or external coaches, because they need that external perspective. They need those neutral people to be there within the system to give that third eye perspective to people, because that's very, very important for growing organizations, especially for mid-size and startups, and also for bigger organizations. So that is the reality that's always been there. However, at this point in time, it's a wait and watch. We'll have to see, because when it comes to money, whether we want to spend it or not, the biggest question now for organizations is, can we keep our workforce or not? So I think we will have better clarity in a couple of months or so, and it could change from organization to organization. But yes, largely there will be a blend. There's no question of going only on internal or external coaches. There will be a blend. External coaches will never lose their role. Their role will, I have a strong feeling that their role is going to have a bigger role to play, maybe bigger role to play in the coming days, because as an external consultant, you are looking at different perspectives compared to your internal consultants. Not to say that they're not having it. So there will be a blend, definitely.
I would like to.
Thanks a lot.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I have a small.
Thanks a lot,
I have a small
sorry.
mention. Just give me a couple of minutes.
Sure.
And this is documented in 1972. Dr. T.V. Rao returned from the US and wanted to do some work. And M.R.R. Nair of L&T said, "You can experiment with my company, but I cannot pay you." Okay. And T.V. Rao Uday Parikh did some work at that time with L&T, with M.R.R. Nair, except the travel and stay. Travel was by train, and stay in the guest house was nothing paid to them. For 2 years or 1.5 years, they did some work, and it turned around why today we have this in India.
Sorry, we lost that last part, Krishna. Say that again.
Earlier, we had only, in the companies, we had IR department, Industrial Relations Department.
Correct.
Be it L&T or Bajaj or Ashok Leyland, it was IRD. Okay. It then became personal management and all those things, but HR was never there. This TV Rao's work got converted into a case study with L&D and which gave birth to human resources development. So what I'm saying today for folks like us is that there is an opportunity to offer a pro bono or a free of cost service to organizations. One, opportunity for you to experiment. If you are not charging them, they will agree with your experiments. Anything new you want to can try. And if when the things turn around, I think you may have a very good case study to go ahead. That's all.
May I
Thanks a
add to
lot.
what Krishna said sometime?
I couldn't hear you.
Am I heard? Hello? Hello?
Now
we cannot
now I
hear
can
you.
hear you.
Okay. I'd just like to add a little. How would it be if we remove ourselves from our comfort zones? We are all either HR, L&D heads, training specialists in some field or the other. Let's remove ourselves from the comfort zone. I can simulate a session for you where you take over a failed company. And let's see what we appear, how we would rank ourselves on the financial books of these failed companies as training heads. How would that be for a starter? And then coach ourselves accordingly to see which are the areas we could touch. We would all have different perspectives to the same problem. And of course, with the help of Mr. Krishna Rao, who has got a lot of information from the real world, we could then think about how we would face the situation in the few months to come. That's it.
Krishna, would you want to respond to Suman and what she said just now?
Yes, I think it's a good idea. In fact, today morning I was talking to Professor Sanjay Kalapur of ISB. Okay, so he's a finance guy. Interestingly, he's also part of our leadership circle, that is the global leadership circle. And one thought ran my mind is I can even ask Sanjay if he can volunteer to evaluate us when we finish the work. Because ISB faculties are also free right now. They're home and doing nothing. Okay.
All right.
Did that answer you?
That's a great idea, Krishna. And, what do you, Sabina? You want to conclude?
Yes, can we just ask if any more questions are coming on, because we are almost done with the time, but in case there are any questions, I'm sure our speakers would be happy to take on. Any last questions? Others we can conclude. We can have the action points summarized.
Others?
Sabina, just wanted to say thanks to Dazzle and Krishna sir for giving wonderful insights. I'm unable to, message them because, so thanks a lot.
Okay, I'm sure they're listening. Thank you. All right, so I think there are no more questions. So the speakers, if you'd like to summarize the action points, each one of you, whoever's here quickly, as to what are the things that we need to do to brace ourselves for the entire community. I think we can summarize that and post it on the group for the others to also go through.
Okay, I'll make it real quick. It's not only just based on what I shared, but I've also got some very crucial insights from, what the other speakers shared, Krishna, Arpita, Suman. So I think one of the biggest takeaways is that, as learning consultants at this point in time, or if we use the word as transformers, we ourselves need to build capabilities to transform ourselves. So what are we doing? How are we going to upskill ourselves? Are we going to get stuck to our own specific skill offerings? No, we should. One of the biggest takeaways is we should be able to diversify. We should have the ability to change, bring on board, equip ourselves with skills which we're not familiar with, be it with our digital know-how, our understanding of changing learning methodologies. and very importantly, have our eyes and ears open. And from what I understood, the other action point is stay connected with everybody as much as possible in the industry, because for us, the only thing that can keep us going, keep our boat running, is if we get the right information flowing to us by staying connected. So staying connected with people in the industry at this point in time is crucial. Open to change, keep learning, keep transforming ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Daisel.
Very well
Anything else?
summarized.
I would like to summarize what I went through, what I spoke about. I believe we need to get out from our comfort zones, from our HR L&D space, and take over probably finance operations and hire a consultant like one of us, see what it appears on the financial spreadsheet. So that means we have a sympathetic understanding of how it is read, how our services are read on the financial spreadsheet. Would you like to hire a consultant who's a specialist, who has upskilled himself, or would you like to have a HR expert as your employee? So it depends, where are you on the CapEx or the OpEx side? Can you find out the difference? Accordingly, we'll be best judges on how to take our own life forward. Should you want to know more, I would love to discuss this. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Suman.
So my one-liner is these days I am listening a lot and thinking a lot, but not talking a lot. Okay, so I think what is important right now is like one of the speakers made it very so clear a couple of days back, is that after Second World War, this is the first crisis we are all facing, and none of us were born when the First World War happened. Clearly don't know anything. I mean, 90% of the world leaders weren't even born when the Second World War happened. So I think there is a very different thing that we have to talk. It talks about something which is very unforeseen things will happen. So let us listen, think, contemplate. What I am doing right now. Thank you.
Krishna, thanks a lot for summarization. Do we also have Shrikant here, still on call?
Shrikant has left, Malini. He had another call.
Right. So how about Nath? Do you want to quickly summarize or anything that you want to share?
Yes, for sure, Malini. Thank you. Well, I think at least for some time, cooperation and coordination have to replace competition. I do not mean we always compete, but I think we are at a stage where we all have to, as Daisel and Mr. Krishna have rightly said. Just give me 1 second. I'm sorry, somebody just came into my room. So I think it's more of this cooperation and coordination which have to dominate the competition. And one other point that was also made, our company self-sufficient, no company self-sufficient. We always lean and depend on external skill and capabilities. No matter what size company we're talking about, we have to reach out to people simply to get some training programs, to get some capability building done. The next 1 month or so looks a little uncertain, but I'm sure we all will come out with flying colors. The world has seen things like this before as well. I mean, what we should not lose at this time is our confidence. And the transformers thing is something I'm really looking at. I think that's something which is a level above what we're doing right now. And if we were to help or transform people, we have to build that influencing capability within us. I think that will help us influence people across all ranks and across all companies. That's it.
Thank you so much, Nath. Yes, Sabina.
All right, thank you everybody for your inputs, and I hope it has helped the rest of us who've been sitting and here listening into you as audience. We'll have more such conversations going, and for all the action points, those of us who'd like to share more with the rest of the team, please keep in touch with us, and then we'll see if we can have a special session for you again. organize so that we can just help each other. Right? Any last thoughts, Suma or Gaurav?
I would like to thank everybody, the speakers, as well as the questions that came forward. The very fact that questions came forward meant that the speakers did a fantastic job. And there is a lot of uncertainty amongst the members because each of us, whether we like it or not, we are going through uncertain times and there is a lot of ambiguity going forward. So I think today's conversation has opened it up for all of us to think at a different level now. And like what the underlying fact that I have observed amongst everybody is that, we need to transform ourselves before we decide to go ahead and transform the others. So I think this is the best time to not just think about how we are going to be doing it for others, but also for our own self and our own relevance. Like I keep saying, we need to reinvent to become relevant. Therefore, we can go ahead. So fantastic thoughts, everybody. All the speakers, Suman, Krishna, Daisy, Arpita. Shrikant, of course, is not here, but in spite of the short duration that he was here, he gave some very, very insightful stuff. So thank you very much once again, everybody. And like Sabina mentioned, we are going to continue this dialogue because this is just the beginning. There's so much more to know and understand. So going forward also, we'd like you all to participate. Yeah, I apologize for the minor glitches, the logistical glitches that we had in the morning. I mean, rather, when we started off. But
we're
all
learning
together. Yeah, we're all in this together and we learn as we go. So I think this is a good platform we can all use. And I'm very, very happy we had this dialogue. A lot of questions that have been, being dealt with at a personal level. Suddenly everything comes out into the open. And I think, the 3 C's of L&D Global, they're all coming to the fore now. Very, very happy.
Absolutely. And as Daisel said, we need to all be tech savvy. I think we'll have more such meetings, and all of us will be able to try out different platforms, etc., and embrace the new world. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the wonderful initiative.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Suman.